Hello, it's me, God. God. It's me, God. Oh, yeah, you didn't expect me to be a woman, did you? Look, before you tune in, I just want to let you know that this show is just two pals having a laugh. It's not a serious study of the stories from the Bible. It's not meant to be accurate or particularly religious. It's meant to be a good time, finding the fun in my stories. And for anyone who's about to say that this goes against God, it doesn't. I approve. I am literally God. Yo, I'm up here laughing at these two silly billies. Seriously, check out episode 6. That one is my favorite. Anyway, listen, spread the good word about this podcast and enjoy. I gotta go learn this new TikTok dance.
Hello and welcome to Let's Get Biblical. I'm Jonathan Giles.
And I'm Aisha Alpha.
Aisha, how you doing?
I'm good, I'm really excited about the world.
Ooh, the world.
Everything is crazy. But here's the thing. Actually, the thing that makes me happy in the world is my kids. They're the lights of my life. Also, my husband's okay. I was thinking about you because I was listening, like a bunch of kids' music. And sometimes we sing along to these kids' songs, and I don't pay attention to the words. But we were listening to one, and it was about animals, and it was really cute, talking about animals. And I realized in the song, after listening to it ad nauseum, that it was a song about Noah's Ark, and it had not occurred to me. But it was about all the different animals that someone brought to present, to be like, we should put all these animals so we can save all these animals in whatever the new world. And I was like, I'm like, I don't actually know the story of Noah's Ark. I just know that there were animals, two animals of each kind, and then they went in a boat for some reason, and then then I don't know, then they sailed away, and that's how it sort of ends in my mind. I know that there's a flood and whatever. What happened in this story? Why was God so mad? What was going on? Where were they going with the boat? And what happened afterward?
I don't know where we're going. Yeah, we'll try to pick up there and fill in the blanks. Okay, so the story of Noah and the ark, 40 days and 40 nights, that's where the earth flooded for that long. It starts with the world at this point was chaotic. People were violent. They were committing crimes, and God was not happy. And so God is like, okay, you guys aren't paying attention to me. You're not doing what I tell you to do. I think we need to do a reboot. We need to restart. And it says that Noah and his family, God, favored Noah because he was righteous. He was I guess the only good person in
Noah
the
was?
entire world at this point.
This is what I want to I want to keep going with this story. How do all these stories connect, right? So this is after Adam and Eve had made people, but God decided he didn't like anybody else. Now it's Noah. It's a confusing kind of, what's the linear thing?
Some time has gone past. Adam and Eve had made babies, and those babies grew up and made babies, and those babies grew up and made babies. It'd be weird if they didn't grow up. It'd be weird if babies made babies. That'd be really insane. But even from a biblical standpoint and a timeline, it does feel like a jump because I believe this is the next major story. And what the Bible will do sometimes is kind of what I just said. They'll be like, Adam and Eve begat Esau, and Esau begat so-and-so. And they'll do that ad nauseum. And you're like, can we just get to the part where everyone dies at the red wedding? Come on.
Oh boy, I don't know about that story. We're going to need to do that one.
So anyways, well, that's Game of Thrones.
Oh. I legit was like, there's a red wedding in the Bible?
A little bit of dragon stuff into it. So God favors Noah and goes to Noah and says, everyone is screwing up. I don't like what's happening here on the world. I'm going to destroy the world with a flood. And Noah's like, what's a flood? And God's like, gonna make it rain. And God says, okay, what I need for you to do is build an ark. And for you and your family and all the animals too, of every kind, and you and your family, you're going to be safe. So,
can I just ask one question
yeah,
before we move on? Is an ark a term for a boat that is widely used? Because I don't know it in any other context.
ARK. I think that's probably maybe just the term they used back then.
Oh, just an old timey term. Because I'm like, he built a yacht, right?
The ark was huge.
Yeah.
It's the I don't remember the measurements. I think like cubics is the measurement used in like the Bible I grew up with, but um people have done
It sounds like Minecraft. How many cubes did it take to build the ark?
right having cubes. Yeah. So no, but the historians have said that the measurement of like feet of that the ark was a football and a half field long.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, like a cruise boat esque
Yeah.
size, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know how big those are, but it's a big old boat.
Have you been on a cruise?
No, I really
Me
want to go.
neither.
Let's do it.
Should we start a company called Noah's Ark where people can just get on a boat and there's just random animals on it?
A petting zoo on a boat?
Ooh.
That would be a great idea.
I wonder if it's still open. There's a petting zoo, at least in Atlanta, called Noah's Ark,
Really?
which, just makes sense.
Just have two of all the animals?
I've never been. I would hope so. It would be really disappointing if you get there and they're like, why are there four chickens here?
We only have four chickens. That's how we're repopulating the world with all the
It's
animals,
like,
just chickens.
four chickens. Only you little kids decide which two of these chickens get to live.
The rest, get ready for chicken nuggies.
So the thing I find sort of fun about this story is that Noah had never built a boat before,
Of course.
and he's building this boat by himself.
Oh boy.
And he had to make it out of gopher wood, which I'm sure is probably some kind of tree. I just love it. It's called gopher.
Gopher wood, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like dirty.
So while while Noah is building the boat, everyone from the town, they're like, "What are you doing?" And Noah's like, "God told me to build this boat. If you repent, you can get on the boat with me." And people were like, "Why would we get on the boat?" And Noah was like, "It's going to rain." And they're like, "What's rain?" And Noah's like, "I don't know." And so they're kind of like mocking him and making fun of him. He eventually builds this boat. I don't know what the pomp and circumstance of the animals, but I feel like there had to be a moment.
Where he was like, what?
Like, okay, my boat's built, wife, kids, families. Like, I think his children were like adults, but they're like, get on the boat. And I don't know if like randomly, like a little lizard just ran on, and then another one, and then like you see like a line of animals walking on.
So like the animals must have known. They got the memo and they're like, look, we don't want to perish. Let's go.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't think it's like Jurassic Park where Noah was running around capturing animals.
Well, this is the thing because there's only two of each. So did each animal species have to be like, look, all right,
Yeah.
let's all vote who's going to get to survive because not
I
all of
think
us
I
are
should
going.
get on the boat.
What if there was like animals trying to disguise themselves as other animals? They're like, all right, look, giraffes, like, we didn't make it for giraffes. Let's stick on some ears. Now we're a long elephant. Let's get in there.
Mr. Giraffe and Mrs. Giraffe, welcome. Mr. Warthog, what are you doing, Jeffrey? You're not on the list.
He's like, damn it, I really want to get on the boat.
I've never been on a boat before. No one's been on a boat. This is the first boat. Also, it's an ark, by the way.
It's an ark, not a boat.
You think people kept calling it a boat, and Noah was like, it's an ark. Don't you see? I painted it on the side.
They're like, what's an ark? He's like, it's a boat, but call it an ark for this purpose. They're going to make children's songs about this later, right? We need this.
Yeah. So no, I always wondered, like, I'm assuming like God or whatever, like, kind of told the animals, and the animals were like, almost like kind of how Aquaman like can talk to dolphins.
He's like, and then they all come. I love it.
And of course, I mean, I'm assuming the people who live in this town are kind of like, holy crap, because like they're seeing animals not from where they live,
Yeah.
getting on a boat.
Yeah, like imagine people had never seen these exotic animals. Somehow these animals got over there. There's a lot of holes in this story, but
There's a ton of holes.
but we're going with it.
We're going with it. So the door to the boat closes. Noah and his family's on there. All the animals are on there. It's a huge zoo. People are outside are like, you're stupid, Noah. You're such a dumb person. What are you
Being
doing?
pelted by rain.
And then all of a sudden rain starts coming. And people are like, what? And they're like, is this rain? And they're like, maybe. And then like it starts raining, and then the water starts rising. And then people are like, let us on the boat. And Noah's like, the door's closed. I can't
I
let
didn't
you
realize
on.
no people, just Noah's family.
Noah's family and a bunch of animals.
Whoa, this is way more like cold than I thought the story. I mean, I thought it was bad when they just weren't letting the unicorns on. Now they're not letting any other people. That's so wild. And to like, so then they had to repopulate the earth with just their own family. What?
All
That's a
right,
bit.
listen, hold up. Don't get ahead of
Okay.
the story
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Okay, let
Okay.
the story be the
Okay.
story.
Let me let the story breathe here. Okay.
So the story is that the world flooded for 40 days and 40 nights. Noah and his family were on this boat with all these animals. And then it stopped raining after 40 days, but it takes time for the water to recede. And so while they're waiting on the water to recede, Noah kept sending out, like, I want to say a raven? No, Game of Thrones. A dove. He like would send out a
All of
dove,
Game of
and the
Thrones.
dove would fly back because it hadn't found land. And then one day, like the dove comes back with an olive leaf, and that was a sign that there was land and that they could go back out into the world. And
Okay.
when it did stop raining, God put a rainbow up, and He told Noah, He said, "The rainbow is the sign I will never destroy the earth like this ever again."
Oh, you know what? In French, rainbow is arc-en-ciel, which means like the arc in the sky, but arc.
Ooh.
Ooh la la.
Hey.
Who knew Noah was French?
Maybe that's what it. Yeah, maybe that's where it came from. That's a great. I did not know that. I think there's like translations of rainbow to mean like peace and hope.
That makes
So
sense.
that's also sort of like the symbol of like never again. But also, I think it's very interesting because I do think, and again, maybe I'm misremembering it, but I do think it's interesting that God said He would never destroy the earth with the flood again.
He's like really giving a lot of caveats. I will never destroy the world again, asterisk, with a flood. Like, you're like, there's gonna be a lot of other ways I'm gonna do it, but just so you guys feel safe.
Noah was like, "What? What was that last part?" No,
Never mind, never mind, never mind.
don't worry about it. So yeah, Noah and his family. I'm assuming the ark docked somewhere. I don't know if they were driving it. I don't know if like he had like a steering wheel or
They're just floating around.
and all the animals get out. And there is more to this story that because you asked about repopulation.
Yeah.
It gets weird.
Oh, what? A story from the Bible gets weird? No, I would never have expected that.
It gets a little weird. The teaser is like one of Noah's daughter or daughter-in-laws. I want to say daughter, like gets him drunk and has sex with him.
What? I mean, I thought it was gonna be weird, but that's so weird. I could not have seen that coming. That this is
That-
part of the Bible is wild.
The
Let's just
Bible
say
is
that.
pretty much erotic fan fiction.
Can you please go on like Yelp or like Amazon and have like give a review of the Bible and just
Oh.
put that's the one line. Oh my gosh.
Hey guys, my name's Jonathan. Welcome to my subreddit page. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Smash that like button, bro.
Oh man.
Yeah, so that's the that is like the gist of the story of Noah and the Ark.
I mean, you said you were going to tell me about repopulation, and now I want to hear no more about repopulation after that last note. But that is good to know. I feel like I kind of knew what was going on, and now I know even more. And it is a cold, cold story of exclusion and sort of elitism, if you will.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Maybe let's dive into that a little bit. What is traumatizing you more that he had to like? Not that he had. I guess like his daughter took advantage of him, or the people died while God.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Both of those are pretty traumatic. First of all, they're like watching all their like neighbors and like community. They're like, please come on, let us in. And Noah's just like, sorry, God told me not to. And they're just like, ah! Like, can you imagine just watching everybody around you die, and you're just on a big boat with your family and like a million animals?
Every day I do.
You're like, come on, Rain, come on. That's traumatizing. And then, honestly, the most traumatizing part about the last bit of you telling me that how they repopulated is the flippancy with which you delivered that message. It wasn't like, Aisha, prepare yourself, trigger warning, nothing. Just like, anyway, so his daughter got him drunk, and then they had sex, and she took advantage of him. it's you can't even trust your family. Is I guess the moral of that.
Yeah, if your family hands you a drink, make sure.
Yeah. You need that nail polish you dip in to make sure it's not like
Is
drugged.
that a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, for women,
Wow.
the
Yeah.
nail polish.
Women have
You
to
know
go through a
what?
lot.
It is incredible to me the amount of products that are sold to women
Yep.
to avoid being assaulted.
Yes.
There's companies that have to sit in front of their board members and they're like, how did we do this quarter? And they're making millions and billions of dollars off of like, well, we made another rape whistle. Let's make it pink. We think women will like it better if it's pink.
Yes. It's kind of mind-boggling as well that this is the solution, right? They're like, look, women are terrified and they would rather meet up with a bear than a human man.
Right.
What can we do about this? Should we change policies? Should we change systems? Should we change how we punish? Nah, give them a whistle. Give them a
I got an
whistle.
idea. What about more bears? Can we get more bears? What do you guys think? Less men, more bears.
Jim's thinking outside the box. That's what we need more of, people. Get a few more bears. Get them on Noah's Ark and get them over here.
This is what happens when you let the CEO's nephew in on the marketing meetings.
Just like now it's just women in the streets battling bears. Oh my god.
Bears like shaking cars. Well, she shouldn't have been eating that honey.
Yeah, exactly.
It's her fault. Walking around with all that honey. Always blaming women for the bad things that happen to them.
She had berries in her pockets, so I was told.
It looked like a picnic basket in her backseat.
Picnic basket. Oh my god. I mean, the best part is you have to laugh because it's kind of so on the nose and true for society. Like,
Right, yeah, for sure. I forget where we were, but that was fun. I'm glad we did it.
seriously, that was a good tangent. I mean, here's the thing. This is our link. This is what happens when you start with a world that is so full of trauma and craziness and like just exclusion and death and incest and all these things. This is what happens. You get a world where the answer to women being assaulted is more bears. That's where we're at.
Yeah. I think there's also something with this story to your point of what you said earlier is like what's the timeline in the beginning of time, just this idea that the world was chaotic. And I know I've like had conversations with like my dad who is a very like religious person and
Yeah.
whatnot and like very much has like these ideals about what living a moral life and being a good Christian and all that stuff. And like we'll have conversations like, well, things are way more violent today than they ever been. And I'm like, no, they haven't. Remember that book you made us read every Friday when I wanted to go hang out with my friends at night? You remember all that violent stuff? Like the world was so violent that God said, I'm going to destroy it.
Yeah.
And I'm
Like-
only going to save one family. Someone in that family got a thing for her daddy.
Daddy issues in a way you never expected. Also, I think it's sort of funny and ironic how so many, like, I feel like a lot of, like, people whose families were religious, like, they weren't allowed to watch certain movies or listen to certain music or whatever. And, like, all those things were happening in the Bible and they were encouraged to read it. So, really, like, what messages are, we don't want the modern version of that message, I guess. I don't know, for the religious families.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, some things you shouldn't probably talk about in front of children or whatever. But yeah, like Sunday school, like we didn't talk about that last part of the story. We didn't really
Right.
talk about, the sort of terror of like drowning. While it was
Yes.
more about like Noah saved his family, yay! And look at all the cute animals on the boat.
I like one kid's like, yeah, okay, but what about all the other people that were in the community? Shut up! Cindy, shut up!
More bears! Don't you want Cindy? More bears!
Everywhere, and suggesting more bears for every problem.
They're like, sir, this is for the second graders and lower.
More bears! Next meeting, climate change. More bears! always more bears. Okay, always.
Climate. That is funny. Okay. I don't know where this one is. It'll be fine.
This is great. Honestly, I think this is great because, we're talking about the Bible, we're talking about these stories, but it all does relate back to where we're at in present time, I think, is really the messages. I mean, we're going to talk about the moral of the story and stuff, but the Bible is like full of these crazy ass stories that, are they true? I don't know. But they all come from something. They've all got to come from something, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that there was some huge flood that happened at this time, and I'm guessing everyone didn't die in it, but I'm sure people perished, and I'm sure that someone had a boat where they kept their goats or something, and they were like, write it down. There was a boat that had all the animals, everyone else died, we moved forward. And, like, it wasn't that, I'm sure, but something like that happened, and then she did her daddy, and, it's a lot. It's a lot, but
Yeah.
I feel like it is relatable.
I think you're probably right because, like, we know that there has been natural disasters that happen today, like, hurricanes coming and
Yeah.
people die or whatever. But even like back then, natural disasters probably happened and people didn't have technology. They
No.
just, like, if a tsunami came, or what was was it Mount Vesuvius? Am I saying that right?
Vesuvius. Yeah.
Vesuvius, that was on the other side of town, the south side. Y'all heard about Mount Vesuvius? Anyways, yo, that girl gave me Vesuvius. I should stop. Okay, but no, but like, yeah, probably like you're right, like that, because that killed a whole city.
Yeah.
But someone was around enough to remember it and tell a version of the story, and
Yeah.
over time, like these stories just kind of grow and grow. So yeah, maybe I'm curious to know if this story, like, what is the real story? Because even like with other things, I know we talked on an episode already about the Garden of Eden. Like, there's other cultures, not just like Christian cultures, that also have a creation story,
Right.
or a version of the Garden of Eden. So like all these stories, to your point, have like a kernel of something. Then obviously people make up things. They're like, I heard a voice, God told me, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that if you're going to be a religion where you're going to say, like, we're the right ones, you have to have your own story for everything, right? Like, well, how did we come to be? Well, I'll tell you. This is how we became to be. And then some other group's like, well, I'll tell you how no, our story's the right one. And everyone's got their story. And I'm sure, like, I mean, all these people were around, right, for hundreds, thousands of years. So at the time, like, people were totally isolated. We didn't have technology. We didn't have a way to communicate. So you can imagine some people living in, like, North America were like, this is how we came about, right? Like, there's, like, story of Turtle Island and stuff for Canada, for the indigenous cultures. And then some people in, like, some other place in, like, South America were like, this is how the world came, because that's all they knew was their area, and that's how they have their stuff. And, like, African cultures and European or whatever, Asian. So I'm sure every religion who started in different places has their own version. And then imagine what happened, though, when one day someone just showed up in the other place, like, what? We made you too? And they're like, what? We made you too? Like, everyone's probably so confused in that first time when, like, all these different continental people were able to travel because they did not know anything outside of their area, right? So,
I can't wait until we do the story of the Tower of Babel.
ooh,
Your mind.
I'm so, God, I have no clue what this is about. The Tower of Babel. It sounds like a big skyscraper that is the home of, like, an app startup or something.
It's a WeWork. It's some shared workplace.
People don't know, actually. WeWork started in biblical times.
It's called Babel. You guys have the Babel app? Okay,
Babel-
I think on that note, this is a great place for us to have a praise break.
Oh, baby, let's praise it out.
Let's praise it all up.
Can't hear the music up in my headphones. Here we go.
Not around the back.
Ooh.
It works better when you can hear the music, doesn't it?
Because the music. Oh, there we go. What did you say?
We got a good praise in.
Ooh, hallelujah. Good praise. Good praise.
And we got to wrap this up. We're going to be late for the fish fry.
There's a fish fry.
There's always a fish fry.
No.
So we always like to end the show by asking, what did we learn?
Yeah.
Did we learn anything?
We learned a lot. We always learn a lot, okay? I learned at the end of the story, okay? That's the most traumatizing part for me. I learned about the end of the story, and I wish I didn't, okay? But I think the moral of the story, and I like to always have a positive moral, okay, of the story. Now, there's a lot of stuff from here we could take away. There's a lot of stuff that's scary or harsh or cold-blooded, pure cold-blooded. But what I want to take away is that everything's better with someone else. So if you're an animal, imagine that they just said, let's just take one animal of each kind. How scary, how lonely would you feel, right? But when you get to go with a pal, it's more fun. So you take your pal, you go on and you start a new life. When you have a family, you don't feel as scared when you have your family with you. We just had all the wildfires in California, and there was real risk of like bad things happening. And when I was thinking about evacuating, I was like, what do I need to bring? My family, most important, a few other things. But okay, here's my real moral. Here's my real moral of the story. You don't need much to survive. That's my real story. You don't need 1 million giraffes. You only need 2. You don't need all the people. You just need your family, apparently.
Oh, man, look at you bringing it to a Mr. Rogers ending.
I'm bringing it to Mr. You don't need a lot to survive. Yeah. You just need 2.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah. And everyone else who's outside of that too, get out of here. We don't need you, okay? Like, even for me, I'm like, 2. I have 2 kids. What about Josh? Well, sorry, man. Didn't make the cut. You're not in the 2, baby.
I got a +2. Don't have a plus Josh. Sorry.
Just him flailing in the water. That's fine. I'll meet you guys there. We're like, okay, bye.
I like to think the lesson from this, for me, is it is a little bit about faith and hope. So just the idea that Noah, hearing God tell him, build an ark because I'm going to make it rain. Like, there is something that's very aspirational about that. I think it sort of sits with like how we are as humans, because sometimes like you just have to sort of step out on faith, literally. We do things sometimes not knowing the outcome,
Yeah.
or how it's going to work out, and I think this story kind of speaks to that a little bit.
Yeah.
And sure, everyone else from your town's going to die.
I mean, that is such a beautiful takeaway, actually, because I'm just thinking of the end of the story. But when you talk about it like that, it really makes me think about like Noah building a huge boat by hand that he's never built before, with this faith that like this is what's going to save us, and being ridiculed but still doing it. So it's like a good message as well of like, if you feel compelled that no matter what anyone else says, you should do that thing and have faith that it will work out. So I love that too. That's the show. Wonderful. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for having a biblical giggle with us. Let's Get Biblical is available on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you might enjoy your podcasts. And if you liked it, spread the good word, just like Jesus would have wanted. Tell your friends, rate, subscribe. Tell the people you don't like. Follow us. Do things, okay? Make a shirt that has our faces on it. Okay.
Yes, and send it to us. You don't know where we live. We're on the ark. You'll find us. Follow us on IG at Let's Get Biblical Pod, P-O-D, and comment so we know who you are. Have a favorite Bible story that you want to hear us mess up? Let us know what you want, and maybe we'll do it on the next show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you, Jonathan.
I'll take all the peace I can get.
Peace,
Bring 'em
peace.
my way.
Oh my gosh, I did it. Look, it made it confetti.